I'm Conrad. Our original intention was that both my wife, Chris, and I would talk to you about lifeAssist and what it's meant to us. Now, unfortunately, Chris was unwell for so long and she passed away last year, so I'm here to talk on behalf of both of us. She'd never had great health, and when we were both in the US, when we were in our 20s, she was given a life expectancy of 45. Well, she lived to be almost 61, so in a sense that wasn't too bad, even though, there's no anaesthesia for the moment when someone close to you really dies. But in other words, her health wasn't good, and her health began to go downhill. She had bouts of pneumonia every year and physiotherapy for that. And that's when we got together with lifeAssist. They helped us a great deal as Chris's illness got worse over the next 4 or 5 years, and in connection with me as well when I was making adjustments and when I was having to work as a carer. And she was told it was terminal in 2011, so at that stage it became a form of caring for a person in a terminal condition. lifeAssist have quite a holistic approach to caring for people, so that they make a real effort to try and make sure that your needs are covered across a spectrum of things. A lot of the help that I now get from lifeAssist is in running finances and expanding cooking capacities beyond omelettes and heating sausages and other such to actually doing real cooking, and that's been terrific. Yeah, I've really appreciated that. lifeAssist have also helped me in developing computer skills, which has been vital, particularly handling illustrative material for articles, illustrative material for writing books. Both Chris and myself have been writers for a long time, and I'm continuing to write non-fiction, so I just needed that capacity. You weren't perpetually buried doing chores from one end of the day to the other. You could actually sit down, you could talk about Chris's spiritual journey, which was very important to her. You could talk about the books we'd been reading, which was very important to both of us, and just being able to explore what we had in common. Now, in Chris's case, she wrote under the name Catherine. It also extended, of course, to her pursuit of poetry. And she had a huge poetry intake, a huge poetry reading intake. She gave workshops on Milton. She gave workshops on George Herbert and the poets of earlier centuries. This extended to being able to get out and about, so that we would be able to get out and away, and we'd go on trips into the country. We had enough time available on one occasion to go to Sydney, so Chris could give papers on her poetry up there. I was just so grateful for that. lifeAssist was able to get some help for Chris, so that Chris could then let me go for 2 or 3 days here and there to get respite as a carer, and that was immensely valuable last year. And I think that's crucial if you're caring. You've got to get the respite. And it's not always easy for people in caring positions to get that respite. I think at a certain level, sometimes you feel guilty. You think, should be soldiering on. But in actual fact, I think as your experience with caring increases, you begin to realise, yes, you do need the breaks. It helps you then work better as a carer when you come back. We made a number of sort of gradual or sometimes fairly quick changes. The wheelchair was one. When we moved to this unit, we got a whole lot of modifications done because Chris couldn't handle things like doorknobs. You had to get handles put in because of her tendinitis and because of her muscular difficulties. We had a family, and the family was enormously rewarding. As with all families, there are great moments of joy and there are great moments of sadness. As a neighbour of ours said, yeah, you love them and they break your hearts at the same time. But, my experience of the kids has been wonderful. I'm the ultimate proud parent, I think, with my two children. They're both musicians and they both get immense joy and fulfilment out of their music. I think we got huge amounts of fulfilment from our friends, and I think I've tried to maintain that since Chris passed away. Chris was really, I think she was really social, and I think she got great delight from the experiences of people, and she brought a great number of people into our lives, particularly through her pursuit of poetry. And through the groups that she was involved with in poetry, and I've tried to stay close to a number of those people since, because I'm on the autistic spectrum disorder and what used to be classified as Asperger's and is now sort of more generally, it's got some more general categorisation these days. My tendency is to happily sort of putter away on my own and sort of just gradually retreat into a shell. And I think Chris kept me away from that. And I think in a sense she ingrained a certain sort of instinctively social element into my character. And I'm very grateful for that. Behind all the faces in the street, there are these incredible lives. And I think, nowadays we tend to underestimate that spectacularly. Chris left me a wonderful letter, and she sort of talked about things. And in a way, I wished I'd been able to do something similar back. I mean, the number of times that you could tell someone you love them, and, there probably never enough of those occasions.